So I found out how to replicate the new flash bug on Zoe. So as you can see, her first flash is always going to be normal, but her second flash, as long as her W passive isn't active, will cause her flash to bug. So you can see my position is there, and every time I cast a new ability or input, anytime I input anything, it's going to cause her position to update. But as you can see, as long as I have my W passive up, it will work as intended. I thought for a little bit that a movement speed bonus was the issue, but it's just her W passive. So here's a fun thing you can do with it. You can extend your Q range without ever having to like leave a bush. So if you're sieging under bot tower, you can hit super long range Qs that you're not supposed to hit. You can also extend the range of your ultimate, which is pretty insane. Another thing that I figured out you can do, you can extend the range of your E over a wall. So instead of shooting it over the wall, you're going straight through the wall, and you're shooting it from the position where your flash is supposed to take you. I wanted to try out Proto Belt and see what it did, and so after my testing here, I think the issue is that the game thinks instead of using Flash, we're using Proto Belt, because if you pay close enough attention, you'll see that every time I flash, Proto Belt returns me to my original position. And that's what Proto Belt does normally, but I'm flashing, so it shouldn't be taking me back to my original position to where I flashed. It should be taking me back to the position that I flashed to, you know? If that makes any sense. Here's another kind of angle of that. You can see I'm standing here, I flash, and then I Proto Belt, but it takes me back to where I began. It should be taking me to where I'm flashing to after I Proto Belt, but it's not. And it doesn't do that with the other abilities. Like, I used my bubble there, but it put me where I was supposed to be, you know? My next theory was, does it work with Hex Flash? And so if you do a fully charged Hex Flash, it does not work. It does not work with fully charged Hex Flash, but if you do it right before, it does work. So this leads to some very interesting unintended things you can do, especially in the bot lane. So if you do Zoe support, this is a really fun rune to take. If you line up your bubble and there's like an enemy just outside your bubble range, if you Hex Flash over the wall, you can like jump scare them with a bubble. Another thing you can do is if you're in mid lane, Hex Flash over this wall so you can extend your bubble range again. Now, only thing, I don't know if this is bannable, so I wouldn't recommend doing it in regular games. Another interesting thing is the flash bug, it actually takes away vision. So you technically still can see the area, but you can't see any of the units in that area. It's pretty weird because you can see it's still there, but I can't see it whenever I flash over. Another thing I wanted to test out was like targeting. So Dragon always targets the closest enemy to it. As you can see, I'm still the closest enemy to it, but because of my Hex Flash being far away, it does that. If Zoe's W passive is up, Hex Flash works the same way as Flash does. It'll work as intended, so keep that in mind. Oh, and then there's also a really funny Proto Belt bug. Where Zoe turns, like, clear. Now, if you ult, it makes it go away, but none of her other abilities make it go away. It's literally only if you ult, but you have to do it twice in a row. I don't know if this applies on other champions in the game. If they double proto belt, it makes them clear. But technically Zoe's the only one in the game who can do that in like a norm. So I think it's pretty funny.